So how did you find the movie? Straight after seeing this film, that was probably the hardest question in the world I've ever had to answer. Good evening and welcome to Midnight Movie Club and my review of Mandy. Co-writer and director Panos Cosmatos returns with Mandy off the back of 2010's Beyond the Black Rainbow. If you've seen Beyond the Black Rainbow, you will know what to expect from this man and just what exactly he is capable of. If you haven't, then check out my review for it, I'll link it in the description box down below. Just like Beyond the Black Rainbow, Mandy is once again an amazing sensory experience, but in contrast, I am happy to report that that's not all that it is. Mandy has a proper plot and a classic 3-act structure, which makes it far easier to follow, even if everything is not outright explained to you. So, what's it all about? Well, the year is 1983 in the Pacific Northwest. Red and Mandy Bloom are outsiders in their community living a peaceful life when their hidden forest haven is savagely destroyed by a cult known as the Children of the New World. Red is then catapulted into a journey filled with bloody vengeance and trippy, almost otherworldly goings-on. Off the bat, Mandy is the epitome of a festival film, and I can see many general audience goers not liking it for that reason. It is slow in getting anywhere at all, taking its time with even the most basic of scenes that don't go anywhere. They except create tension and tone, adding to the dread and trippy atmosphere that the film creates in its first act. First up, the movie is shot beautifully, and I expected nothing less from Cosmatos. He just has this class about his work that carries you through his films in a dreamlike manner. It's a joy to look at. I have to give Cosmatos, the cinematographer, a mention as well, as he helped in giving Mandy dazzling and lush visuals. The cinematography will grab you from the get-go and not let you go until the credits roll. Along with the cinematography, the strong, bold, bright neon colour palette that fills every shot helps to create this awesome, otherworldly atmosphere, transporting you into Cosmatos' mind. So unlike Beyond the Black Rainbow, Mandy does not get completely wrapped up in its visuals and keeps bringing us back down to Cosmatos' earth, as he always returns to the narrative, anchoring it with the emotion of the situation to keep the story rolling. But without the visuals bringing this tone, Mandy would not have the effect that it does. It is the visuals that give Mandy its uniqueness, and that is what makes it more than what it is. Cosmatos has managed to make a simple story of revenge much more than that, and far more interesting, even though it is mind-bending. Mandy goes from a surreal love story in the first act to fully releasing the cage into a wildly violent, outrageous murder fest, and this is where the tone switches and we see a new side to Cosmatos, and I have to say, it's a side I loved. Though the second and third act may not have as much as an emotional impact as the first, it is the setup and the patience of the first act that fills us with the rage and bloodlust we feel in Red as a character. So when we get shots of Red crafting a battle axe to use against these psychotic cult members, accompanied by a beautiful score from Jóhann Jóhannsson, we get those goosebumps and that feeling of, go fucking get them. You are buzzing for him to take that axe and use it on those who wronged him and Mandy. Now that I've mentioned the score, let's touch on the music a little more. Mandy has an original soundtrack composed by Jóhann Jóhannsson, who has also done the score for Arrival back in 2016. If you haven't already, I really recommend going and checking out some of his stuff, it's great. The music honestly caught me off guard, as I was expecting another score full of 80s synth. But instead of just being another synthy love letter to the great scores of the 80s, it was a grungy, metallic synth that was full of off-putting and unusual notes. It also boasted some awesome guitar solos with heart-pounding drums. It was, no pun intended, instrumental in adding to the unsettling and off yet oddly wonderful atmosphere that Mandy so effortlessly captures. Now before getting on to acting, I just want to touch on lighting, as the lighting I found for the most part to be phenomenal. That's when the screen wasn't drenched in red anyway. Even without lighting, the colours used in the film through mise-en-scene were absolutely fantastic, but the lighting in some points was just absolute quality. We get these great wide shots of Nicolas Cage's Red as he's making his way through the mountains, stopping along the way, and the only thing lighting up the shot is the yellow of the headlights and the red of the brake lights on his ATV. Those shots in particular stood out to me, but throughout the film, the lighting work is just great. There was maybe one shot where I thought it looked a little silly, like someone had just placed a red light behind a group of people for the sake of it. But at the same time, even though a red light in the middle of the woods doesn't make sense, it still looked fucking cool. But apart from a couple of shots like that, the lighting is absolutely on point. Now finally, on to the acting. How was it? It was fantastic. Nicolas Cage delivers my favourite performance of his since Bad Lieutenant and Kick-Ass. It even manages to match the hilarity of his Wicker Man performance, which I also love for how mental he can go. There is one scene that involves Cage in a bathroom with a bottle of vodka, and it is just sheer brilliance. The Cage is well and truly released in all its glory, and let's just say, don't rip his shirt. Moving on, Andrea Riseborough, who plays Mandy, delivers a haunting, delicate and attentive performance fitting of this world, living in her ideal forest retreat with her partner, spending her days painting, reading and rocking heavy metal tees. She gave the first act heart and had the most interesting things to say. The story she told Red about her dad was delivered with disturbing grace. It was brilliant. She did a solid job in this one. Onto the film's antagonist, Jeremiah, a failed folk singer that has somehow become leader of the cult known as the Children of the New World, and he's played by Linus Roach. Roach is completely delusional and out of his mind in this role, and it's a joy to watch. He is truly on the fringe, and you never know what is going to come out of his mouth next, or what he is going to do. Although I enjoyed his performance, I did think that he was the weakest character out of our main three. Without going into spoilers, I thought there might be a bit more to him, but apart from his long monologues about shit we don't understand, he didn't have too much to offer. That's one thing I thought dragged the film down a little, the long conversations that explained nothing and that contributed to nothing in the grand scheme of things. It was just ramblings of people who were heavily doped up, and I can't help but think I may have understood what they were saying better if I was doped up too. The one and only Bill Duke makes an appearance as Carruthers, who gives the film much needed exposition, but just the right amount, not too much. It is one of the few conversations in the movie that actually makes sense, and I love Duke's emotion and coolness. The guy just oozes charisma. I've been a long fan of his since Predator, and even though he has a small part here, he's a breath of fresh air, bridging and blending the change of tones from the first to the second half of the film. Now touching on what I didn't like, the dialogue heavy scenes where characters talked in riddles about things that the audience just couldn't comprehend. This took me back to Beyond the Black Rainbow and fell into the Cosmatos trait of totally fucking nuts, out there religious and cosmic almost fears. I think Cosmatos really loves the idea of the audience not having a clue what his characters, especially his villains, are talking about. I can maybe see if he's going for the whole fear of the unknown thing, but even though I don't understand it, it still doesn't scare me. I really do think the film could have done with a few more character conversations that made much more sense and just added to the narrative a little more, just seasoned it a little bit better. As I said earlier, the scene with Bill Duke was a breath of fresh air at just the right time. This talk of the unknown may be Cosmatos paying homage to Lovecraft, maybe he's a big fan, but I think it is just something he may have to tweak if he wants to reach all audiences and become even more successful than he has been already. He's becoming a true auteur. In saying this though, I hope he does not change what makes his films so different, and if that's one of the aspects that makes them like this, then I'll have to deal with it and he'll have to keep it. Another thing though is that I thought some shots could have cut away before they did, and that they were dragged out to create tension that just was not there. Even though I enjoyed Mandy a lot, I still thought to myself in some shots, damn, why are we still looking at this? Let's get going, come on, make it snappy. One other thing I think the movie could have gone without was the animated sequences. I think they could have been completely cut and it would have made no difference. Even though the art was stunning, I thought it was just rather unnecessary. But to top this review off, I want to touch on my favourite thing, and that was the practical effects. The practical effects were outstanding, whether it was for some gruesome deaths or for monster costume design. They were just brutally awesome. I really felt I was in the 80s watching this film with all the practical effects, and especially with the heavy grain over the film, and even the long credits at the start, which we just don't see much of now in modern cinema. If you know me, you know I love retro shit, and I love 70s and 80s horror especially, and I love it when a film can transport me back there, and Mandy certainly did. Mandy had me wincing in certain scenes, pissing myself laughing with others, absolutely mind-boggled in quite a lot, and most importantly, it had me pumped to see Nicolas Cage kill some weird-ass crazy evil cult members. The beauty is that the story of Mandy could really be told in a much simpler way without being as fantastical and trippy, but that is what gives Mandy its identity, and it is what Cosmatos is becoming known for. Whenever we get word of his next project, I will be extremely eager to see what he has in the works, and I'm slowly becoming a fan of his. It's just something different in cinema that we haven't seen in a while, and it's just so refreshing to see something like this instead of a reboot of a classic or another superhero film. Cosmatos is a special filmmaker, and I hope he brings us much more in the future. So with all this said, I am going to give Mandy a 4 out of 5 rating. If you have seen Mandy, let me know your thoughts on it in the comments below. And if you would like me to do more videos explaining certain aspects of the film and going into spoilers, I can bring you those as well. If you enjoyed the video, then please leave it a like, and if you're new to the channel, then why not subscribe to join the club. Thank you very much for watching, and good night.